What's up, audience? Hello, audience. And me. Okay.
Okay, so in today's world, we have to be very careful of our surroundings and everyone else that's in it. If we aren't, there are consequences that can happen, good or bad. I would like to thank you for being here as I share my journey from being a victim to becoming a survivor of sexual abuse. I will share an overview of what happened, statistical information, and the symptoms of the trauma and the steps I took for getting help. Speaking up about being sexually abused is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my whole life. It all started when my mom got remarried to who I called my stepfather in 1999. My mom thought he'd be a good person to be in my life and to help me get through everything. And during that time, my brothers and I, we were constantly switching houses. Like, we were at my dad's house 3 days a week, my mom's 4 days a week, because of the divorce agreement and everything else that was going on at the time. We would always have a structured schedule that we'd follow. We'd come home from school, do homework, chores, then we'd help cook dinner, then we were able to go swimming or do whatever we wanted to do with the remaining time we had left. So the stepfather that I'm talking about, his name was Kenny. I'd always help him cook dinner and get things ready for when my mom came home from work at 5 o'clock every Thursday and Friday. And then after about a year of that, he just got really comfortable, and that's when everything started to happen. It started by him telling me if I didn't do what he wanted, that he would beat me. So not knowing that it was ever wrong, it kept on happening on a daily basis. It started out after school, before my brothers or mom came home. He would always come pick me up from school early, and then that's when everything would happen. And that happened for about 4 years, and then it was time to go into high school, and that's when I thought there's something wrong with me. So if only if I had been taught to look out for predators, that probably could have been prevented, and then I wouldn't be left with the damage of the trauma that I have now. So I joined a lot of clubs. I joined like drama club because I needed help with sets. I did book club. That was every Wednesday, even though I didn't really read. I just did everything I could to not be home. I joined National Honor Society because I took weekend field trips away from the school. They would go to the mountains and it'd be like a retreat, get together. I was very manipulated and didn't know what to do. And I think because of what I've gone through, I graduated high school with a 3.9 GPA. I had 7 extra credits over the requirement of 23 credits. I was on honor roll and perfect attendance for all 4 years. And I did really well. So after I graduated high school, Kenny ended up getting really sick. He wasn't taking care of himself, and at 15 years old, like, I don't know like what to think of it or what's going on or how to care for him or any of that. Not that it was my responsibility to do that. But when he was put in the hospital for several weeks, I decided to get a job at King Soopers, and pretty much I worked all the time. Worked overtime. I'd work after school till late at night just to not have to be home or anything. I was sexually abused for 9 years. When I turned 20 years old is when the reality hit me, that I was sexually abused and that I needed to speak up and say something to get help. And to try to hide it, I went to the doctor's office to get antidepressants, thinking it would help. And after a few years, it did help, but then I just got built up one day and I had to tell my mom. So I called her at work and told her everything that happened, and then she was just so shocked and in tears. And then from then to 3 months, I wrote a detailed statement of everything I went through, so that when I told my dad, we'd go straight to the police station. So when that day came, I was ready for it. Then I was ready to talk to the investigators about everything that happened. So after I spoke up and said something, they found Kenny just on the street pretending like he was a drunk. he was just hiding, trying to avoid going to prison. And then when we went to court, he pled guilty to 4 charges of child sexual abuse. So since then, he is in prison, and it's been going on 4 years now. But I'm still left with physical pain and mental health issues. So despite that, it has made me a very strong person and very understanding person. And that's why I'm teaching others to teach their children about predators, because it's very important in today's world. So let's talk about the statistics of the children and adults that have been sexually abused. Every 8 minutes, a child is sexually abused in the US, and about 93% of them know the predator. About 25% of girls and 16% of boys are sexually abused before they turn the age of 18. Young children are most vulnerable when they are 7 and 13 years old. The Medical Association says that 20% of all victims develop long-term mental health issues. There are about 90% of cases, there are 90,000 cases of children being sexually abused that are reported each year. And supposedly that's not even every single case. There's a lot more than that. According to the National Center for Victims of a Crime, states that 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys are a victim of sexual abuse. Out of the course of their lifetime, 28% of the U.S. children ages 14 to 17 have been sexually victimized. So when a child is sexually abused and becomes an adult, trauma is what's left behind for us to deal with and manage. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It's very common when someone is sexually abused. The symptoms are nightmares, flashbacks, avoiding places, senses, or smells, anxiety, and depression. There are also other signs to look for, such as having difficulty setting safe limits with other people around you. For example, having trouble saying no to someone, which is hard for some people. Thoughts of suicide, poor body image, low self-esteem, and unhealthy behaviors like drinking, drugs, things like that. I was actually left with PTSD and some other physical issues due to the abuse. I feel like it will all be a part of me until I decide to officially just let go of it and move forward. I still have occasional nightmares and flashbacks, but in time it will heal and fade as the days go on, which it has already helped out a lot. So how did I start my healing journey? I started by speaking up and letting everyone know what happened and that I'm going to get the help I need. But having the family members know and understand was the easy part. Seeking the help and looking for what I needed was not easy. I started with talk therapy through the police department that paid for most of my therapy. The program is called Crime Victim Compensation. So they help you find a therapist, and they pay for up to 50 sessions. So I found a good therapist after a few different trials, and I was just, it was hard at first because I didn't know what I was going to have to do or how hard it would be. So when I went there and got therapy, it was actually nice because I was talking to a professional, someone that knew what they were doing and that they've dealt with this before. So, and most likely they probably went through it themselves, which is why they're in the field they're in. So after that, basically all I did was I was on my antidepressant medications, and then now I am, it's been 9 months that I've been off of them. So I am slowly making progress. So I also did another treatment called EMDR. It's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It can be done with a licensed psychologist. It's done with a handheld device where you hold 2 pods, 1 in each hand, and it vibrates. It's like a constant vibration that you feel, and then it switches sides. What it does is it activates the trauma in the brain and it gets you to actually move it. And it's actually a very amazing process to see how well it works. And I went through 25 sessions of that, and that is actually one of the most effective treatments I've gone through. It is very, it's amazing. So when you do that, it gets the memories to fade, and it helps reduce nightmares and anxiety, depression, and all that. Now that I've done all the hard work, now time is on my side, and that's when I get to just let things go and fade and move on. So I stopped my antidepressants 9 months ago because I was tired of having no feelings and feeling like they were just suppressing all my emotions. Like, I had no feelings to anything. Like, someone could have told me that my dad died and I probably wouldn't have got too upset. Like, that's how much it was taking over me. So I just decided to stop it on my own, and I realized I can't live my life like that. 13 years of having no feelings is hard. So now I'm learning what it's like to have them. Mm-hmm. So in conclusion, sexual abuse is more common than we would like to think. What I went through, I went for being a victim, and now I have survived and I've gone through it. And I will continue to heal, and it's just a constant process that goes along with time. And I really hope that parents teach their children about sexual abuse in the future to try to prevent it from happening, and that way they don't have to go through what I've gone through, or have to feel like they can't say anything because their parents will get mad. Staying quiet and waiting to say anything for like 3 years was very hard, and I regret doing that. But I also can't regret it because I'm in a way better place now. So please just be aware of your surroundings and the people that are out there. Thank you.